welcome to the video for week 10 of the Prodigious Fun's Thoroughbred Training Challenge. Here's me with Ellie, and today I want to show you an exercise that I feel is really important to my training program. My young horses do this exercise at least once a month, and it gives me a good sense on how they're progressing. So what you see here are 3 poles on a large circle. As the horse gets more advanced, I'll add a 4th pole, but it's her first time doing this, so I wanted to give her a little gap where it wasn't so difficult. I'm starting off at a trot and just trotting both directions over the poles, and as I'm doing this, I'm taking into account how is she bulging each direction. There's 1/4 of the circle where the barns are out on the side, and that direction usually the horses bulge their shoulders, and on the farthest quarter away from the barns they tend to cave it in a little bit. So as I'm trotting here, I'm trying to get a sense as to where her body is and where her weaknesses are, because when I step up to a canter, it's all going to become much more apparent at the higher tempo. So I'm warming up at the canter here, outside of the poles, just to make sure I have my rhythm and get my aids right. And I didn't have this really planned, but I did decide to go ahead and ask her or teach her lead changes. And what you're seeing here is Meika at her truly most cowboy moment. And the way I ask a young horse is what you just saw. I reach my outside hand back, I slap her on the hip, and they usually give me a change. The reason why this works is because I'm nowhere in her face. I'm just galloping forward, she's balanced, and when I'm cueing her with my outside hand, I'm helping her realize that she can make a change from behind with her legs. Most of the time when people teach their horses changes, they get way too complicated with bend and asking for an outside leg, and then change your bend here, and then put your inside leg on here, and a young horse just can't process all that information. This is a much more straightforward, you just go forward, straight, and do this. And as you can tell, the second time around, she was actually really smooth about it. All of us at some point have heard somebody say that they had a fantastic warm-up, and then they went into the arena, and everything fell apart. They had a terrible test. I feel like one of the reasons this happens is in the warm-up arena, people stay on these big, large circles, and they never ask the horse for anything. They never ask for, a deeper bend or an inside leg or to stay straight. And the reason why this exercise is important to me is because it gets me out of the habit of just picking up a canter and just cantering in a circle. As I have 3 poles in front of me, all of a sudden now I have to do something with those poles. I have to balance my horse. I have to ask her for a bend. I have to ask her to yield away from my inside leg if she's caving in. And all of this means that I'm really giving my aids to her in much more rapid fire, which is what you need when you're riding a good test. You need the horse to listen to your minute little aids that come up very frequently. We don't have time in a test to canter another circle and make sure things are right before you get your trot transition. It comes up very quickly. So as I'm cantering here, you're going to start to see my body go from a 2-point, and I'm starting to settle deeper down into the saddle, and that means that I'm cueing her with my body and my leg aids a little bit more as I go around the circle. She started off this exercise caving in both quarters of the circle, and if you replay it back, you can start to see I make it into a square, and I get a much more balanced canter out of it. And that requires a lot more leg aids, but also a little more hand aids to help balance between the two. So that's the inside hand and outside leg that we so often talk about in dressage. I found her left lead to be very different from her right lead. She was much more heavy into the hand and had a bigger bob to her neck, and I had to do a lot more work with my upper body. And as I keep working here, you're going to see me start to really sit down and use my upper body as kind of an anchor so that she doesn't pull me around with her neck and her jaw. And she does get better at it as she goes. But this involves her shifting her balance from the front back to the rear. And you can see there she made a little mistake over the pole, but it's not a big deal. And I'm just going to get my left lead again and try one more time. So as a young horse learns to shift their weight back over their hind end, they do struggle a little bit with it. And she broke there because she couldn't quite comprehend that she couldn't lean forward and down. And so therefore her interpretation of my aids was, well, that's very difficult, so I'm just going to break it to the trot. But as she works on it a little bit more, she gets better and better. And you start to see, as a few more circles go, she looks more comfortable to ride. You can see my body being a little more still. And she elevates her front end and looks a little more balanced from behind. But this is going to be an exercise that's going to, she's going to have to work on for quite a while to help build up her strength for the new found art of dressage. So right at this moment, I begin to feel that all my hard work is beginning to pay off. She starts feeling like a much more broke horse. She's lighter in the bridle. She's not pulling my arms forward, and she has a better balance. So as a reward, I leave the circle, and I ask her to maintain this nice balanced canter on a little bit more out of the poles, and then try and keep this really nice balance into a little bit of trot work as well. Usually, thoroughbreds have a much better trot after they have been working at the canter for a while. So this is an opportunity to really work on her trot and get her swinging and relaxed. So I decided to end this workout with just a few jumps. And I have a yellow X with a takeoff pole set up. And straight ahead of that there is a little set of maroon poles. And my plan is to jump the yellow X and ask her to go straight over the maroon poles and not try and avoid them and start to kind of hunt them down and start to look for the middle of the standards. So before I jump, I'm going to do a few figure eights over the poles so that she knows that she can go over them, and I'm starting to condition her that she can go straight and successfully do the poles. So the first time through here, she fumbles just a little bit and kind of straddles the maroon poles, but that's not to be worried. I like the level head that she's kept. She has a nice rhythm. So I come back one more time, and she completes it with a lot more success. And then, to make it even better, she adds a little right finely changed. So I feel like we accomplished a lot this day.